right, so let's do this here. We've got the siege defense today of Pendraic Castle. This episode is going to be essentially on request, not necessarily by direct request, but because there's a fella struggling with this situation on Reddit. He was up against some 2,000, I think he was pretty close to these numbers too, about 2,300 Valandians, and I just happened to have a save game where I was able to take Pendraic Castle and wait for this Valandian assault. Now, of course, our armies, who actually knows what this guy's army looked like? I didn't get a lot of details, but here's what we have, right? We have a mix. Ironically, we have a bunch of Aserai troops because this was part of my Aserai practice campaign, but I did recruit a handful of Battanian forces, both from the castle and on the way up here, and we have a semblance of a Battanian army. That's about as close as we can get here. Now, the numbers, I think, if I remember right, he had low 300s against 2,300, so this actually should be really close, a really close analog to what he was facing. Now, of course, we'll do this on normal player damage or the Bannerlord difficulty. I'm trying to think what other things we can say here as far as difficulty. I am going to not destroy the ram, intentionally not destroy it. Of course, there are plenty of guys making the correct comment that if you have to survive this siege here, and I am familiar with this map, I've got some ideas already, but if you have to survive this, destroy the ram, right? We're going to intentionally not destroy the ram, presuming that you're either unable to or you just chose not to. In other words, this will be sort of fighting this siege defense on the hardest difficulty, purposefully on the hardest difficulty. Now, I'm sure a lot of the fellows on Reddit have no idea and no introduction to the tactics that we do on our channel, our YouTube channel. So we're going to be talking a little bit more extensively about it. I like to have at least 4 infantry divisions and 4 archer divisions. And as you can see, the 6th is a mixed division. And before every siege, I will go in and on a granular level sort of address my troops, right? Just like any good general, we're going to inspect the troops here before battle. We're going to assign the correct captains. That guy that was insubordinate last battle and did some dipshit things, right? We will assign him to the fucking refreshment aisle, and the rest of us competent commanders and captains will be in the battle. Now they're going to have 3 ways in, of course, because we're not going to destroy the ram, and I don't see a siege tower, so it does look like they're going to have siege ladders. We've got a skirmisher division here in the 2nd, and I get that by assigning it the shield and the javelins. The 1st division actually has some javelins, but that's okay. That's going to be in a square at the gate. And then the 4th and 3rd divisions will be auxiliary infantry divisions, right? I can position a division like that, and that'll help protect both from the ladder assault on that side, and those guys can throw javelins down on the main gate, right? That's paramount in a siege defense like this, that you really batter the heck out of the troops coming through the gate, because that is your primary threat. The ladders actually don't represent a huge threat, right? Because the troops sort of trickle up them. Occasionally, the enemy will rally a bunch of troops at them, and that becomes a problem, but I'm more worried about the gate. So the 5th archers here, I've got them in a nice spread formation. They'll be able to cover both the ladder there and the main gate. I can put the 3rd division down here basically at the base of the steps in case they get zerged over there, and I can also use them to attack forces at the gate, right? Your troops are going to be multi-purpose just like a chessboard. Over here, I think we have ladders. Can't quite tell. Okay, yes, the enemy has ladders over here on this side of the citadel, so I need to prepare for that. And one of the things I like to do with this terrain, right, with this with this Battanian castle, is assign archers down here. It's hard to get them to position on the curved areas, so I will, this upper area, I think if I can get these guys spread out a little bit for some reason, even though on spread, they're not wanting to spread. Sometimes you got to play with the formations a little bit so that these guys have line of sight both to the gate and to this left ladder, right? The enemy is going to definitely be coming up the left ladder over there, of course, and I want to make sure that I have archers pelting them with arrows as they come up. Of course, they will hold a shield wall at some point or other. They will definitely rally a large force there. They typically come up in a shield wall, and once they have enough troops, they will zerg us. The 8th Corps here is mixed, so we're going to reset this and redo this division. Again, I think it's very important in a very difficult siege like this to know what your units look like and to make sure that they're correctly assigned. So the 8th Corps, I can position them kind of up the side here, and those guys will be able to shoot both sides pretty well. But they're kind of down the slope there. I don't know if you can see that. That may not be optimal. I may be moving my troops a lot in this battle. We've got, low 300 troops here against 2,300. This qualifies as an extremely difficult siege. This army we have, I would say, is above average strength, right? There's a good amount of high-level troops in here, but there's also some middle and lower-tiered troops. On top of that, we'll have some militia. And on top of that, the enemy has, 8 times our number here, right? So we are in bad shape. A lot of the comments were like, nah, you dude, you're doomed. Of course, the original poster, his title was, Am I Doomed? And I would tend to say yes. But we're going to give this a shot here. For background, of course, our channel focuses on tactics. If you haven't checked out our channel on YouTube, take a peek. We do all kinds of tactics for Bannerlord, from the easy all the way up to the most difficult, right? The extreme tactics, kind of like some people would say this, right? There are probably some people watching this, if this is your first episode of Tactical Enlightenment, saying, holy shit, this guy's got troops all over the place. I have never done this before, and it makes me uncomfortable. I understand, fellas, and this is not the kind of thing you learn right away, but this is the kind of thing that I think every player can aspire to get better, get some practice, and as your field command abilities improve, you will find this kind of operations not so difficult, and most importantly, there's 2 reasons it's important. First, it's successful, but the main reason, I think, is that it's fun, right? We're playing this game for entertainment. We're playing this game for the satisfaction of a really difficult challenge, and then completing that challenge. That's why I'm taking this on here, right? I'm actually taking a little time. It's a beautiful afternoon, but I'm taking an hour. Well, hopefully it's not an hour, 40 minutes here for this episode. We will do a quick bit of editing and drop this on Reddit. Hopefully this evening, right? Hopefully it loads pretty quick. I am going to load this at a pretty low resolution so that we can try to get the Reddit system to accept it, right? It only accepts a certain video length, and it only accepts a certain resolution, right? The file size, I think, has to be 1 gigabyte or smaller. If you want to see this in HD, I will try to leave a link for our YouTube channel with this same battle. And if you like Siege, if you like Epic Siege, boy, come take a look at the channel. We have literally 30, 40, 50 different Epic Sieges, which frankly make this siege look on the small size. And I know that seems ridiculous, that a siege of 2,300 I would consider small. In the campaign I'm in, it's not uncommon for us to have a siege against 4,000 or 5,000 troops, sometimes even more. So take a look at that. Of course, we're doing advanced tactics. We've got some colorful commentary, which includes profanity. If that offends you, I don't know. Maybe you can find a nice Sunday school Bannerlord channel, or of course you can always X out, right? The freedom of choice is granted to you to just say, fuck this guy and his swear words. I'm moving on. I understand that might be the case with some people, but my YouTube channel is authentic, and I will occasionally use some profanity. That said, there won't be any racism, right? We will keep it classy, and you'll never see me attacking somebody. I won't be like, fuck you, you motherfucker, unless I'm talking about the enemy, right? And fuck these Valandians, for starters here, right? But we won't be saying like, fuck Palestinians or fuck Israel or anything like that. We will be keeping a neutral bias to all that shit, and not getting in the political fray. All right, so a little bit of catapult work here. I guess I should have explained some of that for the people who've never sort of done that before, but most of you guys are pretty familiar with this, right? You just blow up as many of the stupid-ass enemies as possible while they stand there, and then, of course, once they get close, you can score another 50 to maybe 150 kills by throwing these fire grenades. These little, I guess they're sort of simulated Greek fire. If you're playing in a campaign or Bannerlord and you've never experienced these before, that's because you need to have an engineer with 150 siege, or obviously have one present, right? Maybe you're a mercenary or a vassal. As long as somebody on scene is in charge of the siege and they have 150 engineering skill, they will have these fire grenades. And obviously, as you've seen, they are devastatingly effective. Now you see there's nobody on the walls here. This is something that I do all the time in sieges where you're badly outnumbered. What you will find is that your archers have no chance standing on the walls. They will score some kills, but remember what our objective here is, right? We are outnumbered about 8-1. That means we need to score something like 9 to 10 kills for every one of the enemy, right? That screen on the upper right there showing the death spam, that needs to be almost entirely green for us to have any chance to win this, right? And so that requires us to be very efficient with how we fight, and of course limit things like our archers getting smoked on the walls. In my experience, and it is vast experience, approaching 10,000 hours of Bannerlord, which seems impossible, and honestly that's kind of a fake stat. It counts time Even if your app is open and you're not playing, I think it still counts those hours. But nevertheless, I would say I have thousands of actual hours playing Bannerlord. I am a military strategist. I'm a longtime fan of this type of game. And quite frankly, I've been playing these type of games since most of you guys were either children or not even born. I'm an almost retired firefighter. Just for a little background there for the fellows who don't know. Am I qualified to give this kind of sort of demonstrations? I definitely think so. Most people that watch the channel find that they learn stuff. Sometimes they learn a lot. And I've certainly done my homework, tested these things, and this is a good example here, right? We are not fighting with an incredibly elite army. We are not fighting with ultra high-end companions. We do have a campaign where I do have ultra high-level armies and companions, and I can tell you this siege we would win for sure, right? We have an army of 300 series. In fact, it's one of the videos that's popular that we load up, where with 300 warriors, we take on huge forces in the open field sometimes and still are successful, right? 6, 7, 8, 10 times outnumbered even. All right, so that side, predictably, the enemy did build up a force there, and I had the 3rd Division, the Auxiliary Division over there attacking those guys, and they're suffering some losses, right? It's more than I'm comfortable with, so what do we do here? We pull them back, right? You can manually pull them off the walls, or I like to use F1, F5. As long as you babysit them, they won't go too far. Right, the F1, F5 is basically the command for your units to pull back. I apologize, I don't know what the similar code is for the console, but you know, when you have your units charge, you need to be able to pull them back like angry attack dogs. Otherwise, they will get shot to pieces on the walls the same way that archers will. Right, you do not want to have your units sitting on the walls. In fact, one of the things that fighting like this does is it largely removes the enemy's ability to shoot at you. They can shoot through the gate. In fact, here comes another huge Zerg. Fucking asshole of Landians just pouring in nonstop. But obviously their archers don't really have a line of sight to shoot most of our troops, and that's why this strategy and tactic tends to work. Now we're going to be having some issues with ammo later on in this battle. Now your archers and crossbow have unlimited battle, but of our 60 or 70 skirmishers, those guys, despite my micromanagement of them and holding fire, just like me, they're going to run out of javelins here, and when that happens, we're going to have problems. This is going to be an extremely difficult siege, even if I ration our ammunition just properly so. There's fucking enemies in the gatehouse here. Oh shit, they're all around me. I need a division up here because I want to throw these rocks down on the head of the enemy, so here's what we'll do, right? I'm just basically calling this 4th Division over to me to act. They're going to act basically as an escort, right? I told these guys to charge any enemies nearby. These guys will zerg at, and they will zerg at the guys in the gate, which is good, right? Because we're gonna practice our rock throwing here. Our William Wallace of Braveheart. We're gonna chuck some rocks at the enemy here, some primal shit, and see if we can't rack up another 40 or 50 kills. So far, so good. I would say at this stage, I'm still very uncomfortable in this siege because we don't have an elite army and we don't have much backup, right? We have 300 troops. That means almost all of our troops are on the battlefield at the same time. I don't have elite companions. This character is not capable of just wading through the enemy like my normal character. I play a character that's level 55 in my main campaign, and of course he lays waste to a couple hundred guys every siege just with his axe, right? He just wades in and just shreds people. So this is going to be difficult. If we do win this, it'll be very close. It's basically, this is a war of attrition, right? We're trying to kill 10, 12, 15 enemies for every one of theirs, and I would say it's close so far. Now, one of the things you'll see me do is this. I'm speeding up the episode using the RTS mod. For those players on a console, I apologize. This is a mod that's probably not available to you, but just to sort of reduce the length of this siege. This could easily be a 45-minute siege, even if I don't fast forward. Or especially if I don't fast forward, and I don't want to do that. So we'll do that occasionally. I will try to let you know, of course, but you should be able to tell, right? All of a sudden it's just going to be like ultra fast, and you should have an idea what's going on here. All right, so all I'm doing here is alternating units and basically getting them to throw their javelins, right? We had the second corps throwing their javelins out of the gate. Now we're repositioning other infantry divisions so that they can throw their javelins. This square is paramount to the strategy. A lot of people charge the gate. You're much, much better off forming a square where the enemy can sort of trickle around at the edges. Oh, shit. Help me out there, fellas. Nicely done. But the enemy can't really pour in. Now, this square is too far away from the main gate. Okay, so it's trying to make these guys attack the enemy, and I don't want them to do that. So I tell them to square and follow me, and I'm basically manually dragging this thing into place. Now, this is only happening because the UI here, right, the interface is kind of fucking me over here. In fact, these guys are railing me here. That's kind of an unfortunate part of the game. This breach here that's occurring right now is basically because of the UI. I tried to move that division into a square at the gate a while ago, and it didn't happen as fast as I wanted because of the UI. So we're going to charge with archers here. This is a bit of a desperate situation. We charge and hold fire because I want every single one of those guys coming up here, bellowing, foaming at the mouth, frothing spittle. Shit, we're being charged on the left too. Like I said, the enemy will pressure you at multiple spots. Let's see if we can grab a division here or a few units and stick it at the base of that stairs. You'll see me splitting up these divisions. You'll see me steal some troops from the 6th and say, give me these guys. They're now 1st Division. Stick them on those stairs to sort of repel the enemy from coming in there. But those archers charging, that's a vital thing to know as a new commander. That if you have a breach in a siege, the worst thing that can happen is for the enemy just to start flooding your courtyard. It's all over if that happens, right? The enemy is sort of half flooding our courtyard. I would say this is a quasi-breach. And a lot of that was set up, of course, by the fact that we had a UI problem, right? You really want to keep that square there so that the enemy comes in on a trickle, almost like they're rationed. Like if you were a commander saying, okay, I want, 30 enemies or 50 enemies at a time coming through that door and no more. Obviously, that last little bursting there was more than that. And of course, the enemy racked up some kills because of that. Over here, I have a mix of archers and infantry in the 1st Division, just kind of trying to hold the enemy back over there. Again, we're being pressured from all 3 points here. The main gate, like I was worried about, is the main pressure point. It's almost always the main pressure point, and the enemy really is pouring through here. So this is the other thing I like to do, especially when they have a lot of archers or guys with shields, is I will position that square slightly to the side of the gate, and then pull archers up at angles where they can pelt the enemy in the back. You can see the arrows just raining in from above there on these guys. I can fly in here with my, I think I've got like 260 one-handed skill. It's decent. I'm doing 70, 90. I'm doing decent damage here. And hopefully we can, again, all we're trying to do in this siege is have a high efficiency kill rate. The screen is mostly green in the upper right. You're doing good tactics. You don't need to change anything, right? Oh, shit. Trying to move units around here and I'm getting my ass kicked. Getting chased by 3 different directions here. We're in a bad way in this siege right now. That breach really did injure a lot of our troops here. I'm going to start pulling these archer corps up here because I need to basically borrow from these archer corps. These guys are protecting both sides. I'd love to string them out in a big long line, but there's not, the UI is really clumsy here. It only does straight lines, so if there's nowhere to put them, it does a really lousy job of sort of spreading out troops like you want them. It's just part of the UI. I would love to see someone make a mod, but it is what it is, right? Until we fix it, it is what it is. Again, you see me resetting the 5th Division here. These archers are going to be able to do their best work by shooting, especially when the square is holding the gate. And so I need to get these guys back up the stairs. In fact, there's an argument to be made of trying to split this division. I've got the 4th empty. If I don't like how these guys look after this positioning, I might split those guys into 2 divisions. The splitting, for those unfamiliar with it, is just F3, F5. Got to ride around on my horse here, cut a few guys down, but our health is to the point where I'm really hampered here. It's still very bloody, and now you see all this militia, all these low-level troops. Every single guy I saw right there looked like he was out of the Goodwill or Salvation Army or whatever second-hand store equivalent you have in your country. They're all wearing like their nicest barmaid's apron. None of them have any armor, and that bodes ill for the second half of this siege defense. Now you'll notice, and I think I mentioned this earlier, or I was trying to and I interrupted myself, I don't show the status window during the battle. I don't bring it up and say, oh, you know, there's 900 enemies left or 1,700 left and we've got 1,200, because I don't want to lose any of the suspense of the siege, right? I love a siege. I love when it's a tight siege like this. That's why I'm doing this on short notice. And this kind of challenge, right, this kind of difficulty to me is like a really good chess match against like a grandmaster or something like that. This stimulates my blood. I'm going to split these guys. I want the 4th up these stairs so they can shoot all the way down on the enemy, and I want the 5th on the platform here. So again, we do the old F3, F5, make 2 divisions. Now we have our archers beautifully spread out at 2 different locations. We got another breach here because that square finally broke down. Of course, your square is not impervious, and I don't have any infantry here to send in. So this is a desperate state. We've got to start using archers as squares, which is highly suboptimal because most of them don't have shields. There's a few sergeant crossbow in here who have shields, but a lot of those archers that I just told to go to a square are going to be either two-handed guys like these Fiends, one-handed guys like these Aserai archers, or worse, it's going to be militia, right? So we're in bad shape here. The only thing that sort of evens it out somewhat is the enemy is down to tier 3 troops themselves, right? What are those, squires, maybe even tier 2. Very low level troops. So this is, like I said, it's going to be tight, and this really does look like it could go either way at this stage. I'm starting to feel a little bit desperate to try to get a tactical advantage here. That's why I'm repositioning archers here. I don't really want these guys this close because it leaves that left side more vulnerable, but I want this point blank crossbow damage, right? These guys are just firing right in here while these guys attack this square. Now look at the square. I'm looking at those guys. Only one guy has a shield there, and that's just it's part of a siege like this, right? We don't have a lot of infantry at this stage, and so we're making do, right? Now I have a few of these crossbow that have a shield, but I want them here, right? These guys are shooting. They're doing a lot more damage shooting, and of course they're shooting without suffering losses. It's more important at this stage that these guys keep shooting than forming a shield wall in here, or a square rather, but we're really getting desperate here. This is, of course this siege means nothing. This is essentially a save game where I'm just essentially doing some battles by request, right? Guys wanted to see a Battanian castle defended, so I did that. We're going to have a couple others, but still, as someone who wants to win, even if you're just playing a chess match that means nothing, I want to win this battle, and so I'm feeling sort of, oh shit, the enemy just poured in on this flank too, charge at these archers. They're starting to breach on all 3 sides here. It's definitely starting to get desperate. How many? I got like 70 troops left, 60 troops left. And you don't need the counter to see this. You can add it up yourself. Fortunately, I have some Battanian Fiend champs here that are still doing work. These guys are holding the stairs here. That's pretty secure, but down here is a real mess. I just don't have the infantry. If I had a nice line of even militia infantry with shields, I would feel a lot better about this. But there's a bunch of archers in here trying to fend off these troops. Now, admittedly, the enemy is down to recruits, right? The enemy has weak troops too. So we are in a very desperate state here. I'm just going to cut down as many as they'll let me here before they turn some attention to me. Now, I do see sharpshooters in here. That's a problem too, right? This is where the enemy's archers starts to play a role. Those guys have been waiting to shoot somebody on our walls the whole battle, and of course we had nobody on the walls, so now all their archers are charging as well. That's good because the archers in melee are definitely weaker than them shooting, but that also means that we're now facing high-level archers at this perilous stage late in the battle. 60. I have less than 50 troops, or right about 50 troops. Man, it's very tight. Now, one thing that can happen here is if you inflict a really severe wave of death on the enemy, they will rout. That's our best hope here, right? Because the enemy does seem like they're never ending. They're getting blown up there. That archer division is getting racked. We just lost. I know that's breaking the suspense for some fellas, but the bottom line is when you lose a huge line like that and there's 40 crossbow, they're actually starting to set up and shoot now. This siege just failed. Now it was close. I mean, look at this giant pile of carcasses of bodies, and we're still going to fight it down to the last man, right? See if we can't maybe we can kill 2,000 here. But this attempt is unsuccessful. Now, guys are surprised on the channel that we share this kind of stuff. I'm not here trying to impress anybody as much as I am trying to help guys, right? I would love to continue to see tactics be a thing that fellas on Bannerlord continue to enjoy. And hopefully, even with this defeat, we killed almost exactly 2,000, actually a little bit more than 2,000. Even with this defeat, hopefully this gives you guys some ideas about how you can pursue castle defense in Bannerlord. So I'm going to wrap this episode up in my traditional manner here. Yuha got almost 300 kills, but of course most of that was siege. And I will say this, if you want to see more tactics, of course you want to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You'll get regular updates. I post an episode almost every day. Some of the episodes are shorter, some are longer, but all of them should have some level of tactics or other strategy for Bannerlord involved in them. I appreciate all the people that watched this episode to this stage. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button. And with all that said, I will talk to you friends next time.